Needless to say, I had access to a lot of information, but what I didn't have was access to all the behavior, right? Because medical information is kind of like a point in time, but I didn't know how I was spending my time, because you know from being ultra connected as you all are, how you spend your time is often captured in the devices you touch. So if I was going to become most connected, then I needed to actually look, and it wasn't a plan, it's just like what people talk about now. They don't talk about the health journey. What if I knew as much about my life as my phone does? Because your phone knows a lot about you. So I was using a lot of social media at the time, and every 2 years I do these photos, and I thought, people are going to get paid to be online. One day we might even have a president who literally is online, right? So if we think about our phone, your entire life is organized by categories. You just call them apps, and those apps live in your life categories online when you browse the App Store, right? Lifestyle, travel, etc. So I went to the App Store and I thought, how do I pull out all the information these apps know about my life? Because if you think about it, the phone knows who you're talking to, what you're listening to, how your health is, where you are, what direction it is, how fast it's moving, is it on, is it off, what the battery percentage is, when's the last time you talked to this person, when's the last time it knows everything, right? But we take it for granted because these apps use that information to make their experience better, but they don't use it to make you better. So I thought to myself, I need to figure out what these apps know about me. I thought, I'm going to use all of this information and I'm going to change who I am from the inside out, because I'm going to create my own lifestyle programs. I'm going to download some habits. So I knew what these programs were doing to me. I knew what these apps were affecting me, but I needed to engineer them in a way that they actually created habits outside of the phone that were similar to inside the phone. So what I did was, if I was at the mall and I spent more than $200 in a 15-minute span, or I was at the bar and I spent more than $30 in a half an hour, I would get a message pop up in my Google Glass that told me stop spending. And if I didn't pay attention to the message and I kept spending, my partner would get text alerts telling me I was out doing bad things. So I was using the information that was readily available to everyone to start to not only understand what I was doing, but also create some real corrective actions for myself. I organized my entire data stack in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I'd know right away if an app was essential to living or not, all the way up to apps I didn't need. So I started actually looking at life that way. From there, I could now search my body, my house, my behavior, my car. I could create these downloadable routines, so like the lights would change, the temperatures would change, people would remind me to do things. I was constantly in a state of change. The health turned into a lifestyle, which turned into a series of devices and applications and services which monitored me and kept me on track. I started looking at information through this kind of ephemeral, temporary nature of it. I didn't look at it as a privacy thing, I looked at it more of an intimacy thing. I think so many of our problems today with data and privacy and technology would be solved if we didn't say, I'm worried about being private, I'm more worried about being intimate. Because we connect to anyone in any way we want, indiscriminately, without even thinking about it, right? The intimacy of information. I have people who try to, friend me on 23andMe to see if I have cancer before they link into me. Like, you should know in order, get to know someone, you know what I mean? There's follow them on Instagram before you ask them for a phone number. There's just simple things we don't think about when it comes to information. And I could monitor my life and separate online behaviors from offline behaviors, so I could actually see a disconnect. Even though I wouldn't wear any technology to do these things, I could still see the benefits because of the technology around me. So my calendar to this day keeps things by order of time and time used. So time I spend, I schedule time to have space to create intimate relationships or have love. So I stopped valuing my schedule and started scheduling my values, right? And this is so important because I think we're sitting at the biggest single change in history ever. Because if you think about the technology that's come out in the last 2 years from all the manufacturers, Amazon, Apple, Google, they're getting rid of screens. And when you get rid of screens, you get rid of something that I had the benefit of, that I figured out how to hack, but other people might not, because the screen gives you choice. In a world with no screen, you just are told what to do. The habits are downloaded to you. You don't actually interact with them. If we think about our lives over the last decade, we can see that slowly people are starting to act more like technology, and technology is starting to act more like people. So the mediation, the line between you and the interface is being blurred. It looks like this. And this is the one thing you need to really think about if you wonder about why people seem differently. Because we went from a world where you interacted with technology through several layers of interfaces, but today most people are enveloped in technology. And even if they don't have the technology on them and they're not actively looking at it, they're influenced by it. Have you ever talked to someone and they started answering you before you finished your question as if they were Googling you or typing ahead? Right? We're living in a world where people are becoming kind of augmented in this really kind of unique way because they're mediated. Right now, a lot of our AI systems make decisions for people that we really don't understand. Because our technology will help us sleep better automatically if we do it. We can actually program the technology. It's right on your phone and your alarm clock. Our calendars will schedule habits for us. Our computers and our phones will sync so that the sunlight is not so bright and we can start to get better and more profound rest. Our devices will tell us when to stand, when to meditate, when to walk. Our phones will automatically remember places we go often and often to drive them there to us. And our phones now have systems in them that detect we're driving and block us from using them. So habits are being created for us in real time. Facebook even has an AI that watches for if you seem to be depressed to let someone know that you might be suicidal. If we think about habit surveillance, as I mentioned earlier, Google just this week downloaded a suite of programs for you to monitor and start to hack and optimize your own habits. The information involved in collecting that is profound, but it's just done under the guise of wellness, so it must be okay. But I think what's really interesting is where you look at where this is leading to, because on the same Google website, they talk about family wellness. They don't call it family surveillance. I call it that. But they show you all these ways you can monitor your family. And I know a lot of us do this already with our spouses and our kids, but it's kind of a big deal because you don't need a 1984 Orwellian state if you're creating it. We don't need to worry about cameras on every post. We're doing it for them, right? And being digitally Amish isn't an option. So moving forward, we have to be really careful and considerate as we put all this information into the universe and we start to use it, what it's saying.